Alright guys, in this video series I'm going to be teaching you how to build a gaming PC. Let's get started. First off, I want to say that this build is based on a build originally by Austin Evans. His video will be linked in the description down below, so be sure to check that out so you'll know why each of the parts was selected. Alright, so starting off this build, you're going to need two tools. You're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver for screwing in 3 screws, and a Swiss Army knife to assist you in opening the packaging of your components. For this first part of the build, you're going to need 4 main components. You're going to need your motherboard, your processor, your RAM, and your case. You'll find that your motherboard comes with your drivers and utilities DVD, a quick installation guide, and a user manual. It'll also come with 2 SATA cables, or however many yours comes with, and a backplate that you will be mounting on the case of your computer. The motherboard also comes with the motherboard itself, and here's a look at that along with the ports that you'll find running along one of the sides of the motherboard. The processor will come with an instruction manual, a heatsink fan that will be used to cool the processor, and the processor also comes with the processor itself. You'll notice on one side of the processor there are a lot of shiny gold pins. Do not touch the pins. These pins are very important for the connection of the processor to the motherboard, and if you damage them, your part may be broken and you'll have to purchase a new one. So for the actual installation of the processor, you'll notice on your motherboard a small mousetrap looking component. Simply pop off the cover of this component, release the latch to open the compartment where the processor will be placed, line up the corner of your processor with the corner displayed on the motherboard so you can align it properly, and gently rest it in place. Once you have the processor properly resting in place, it's time to secure it by closing the mousetrap-like contraption and securing the hinge. This may require a large amount of force, but that's normal and should be expected. Once you have the processor installed, it's time to install the fan. Line up the 4 clips on the 4 corners of the fan with the 4 holes on the motherboard tray. Once you have the fan resting in place, simply push down on the clips to secure it to the motherboard. This process is fairly simple, but may be different depending on which processor and which fan you get. Once you have the fan secured to the motherboard, you may now safely pick up the motherboard using the fan. This is what your motherboard should look like once you have your processor and heatsink fan installed. Next, it is time to install the RAM. The RAM comes with a warranty against defects, and the RAM itself, which is composed of 2 4GB modules. To install the RAM, begin by opening the clips of the RAM slot on the motherboard. Once you have those open, line up the notch of the RAM with the notch in the RAM slot. That means the RAM can only go in one way. Slide the RAM into place and be sure to apply a lot of pressure to make sure it firmly clicks into place and that it's not going anywhere. This is what your motherboard should look like with the RAM installed. Now it's time to install the motherboard into the case. Begin by removing the 4 thumb screws on the back of the case that secure the 2 side panels to the body of the case. This should be pretty easy because they're thumb screws, but if they're stuck, you may have to use the Phillips head screwdriver to unscrew them. Once you have the side panels removed, your case will be clear and easy to work with. Your case should come with an instruction manual and a small box inside the case that contains zip ties and small screws. Refer to the instruction manual for locating the screws that will be used to install the motherboard. Before you install the motherboard, you first have to install the I/O shield that came with your motherboard in the back of the case. Make sure it's oriented correctly and then snap it into place. Then turn your case on its side and align the ports on the motherboard with the holes on the I/O shield. Once you know your motherboard is properly situated in place, use the screws to secure it to the case. For this particular motherboard, there will be 3 screws, one on the top left, one on the bottom left, and one on the top right that will secure it to your case. This is what your motherboard will look like once it's properly installed in your case. On the back, you'll be able to see that the ports are easily accessible. Alright guys, that wraps up part 1 of this video series. Be sure to stay tuned for part 2, where I'll be installing the power supply, the hard drive, the graphics card, and the optical disk drive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.